Hello and welcome to the channel. This is Literature Simplified, where I explain English literature in simple English. Today we are going to discuss the short story The Girl Who Can by Ama Ata Aidoo. She was a writer and playwright from Ghana, known for writing about African culture, women's lives, and social change. And this story was published in 1997. This particular story is about Ajua, a young girl who doesn't understand why her grandma criticizes her continuously about her thin legs, something that she has no control over, and what she is supposed to do to live up to these expectations. Now let's get straight to the story. The story starts with Ajua talking about the village in which she was born. It's called Hazodi, but this is not a real village in Ghana. This is a fictional village. The writer has made up this village just for the sake of the story. And this particular village is very fertile, which means that crops grow in it throughout the year. There is no drought over here. There's no scarcity of water or rainfall. Because this village has very good soil and things grow very well over here. And so when the rest of Ghana is suffering from a drought, when they have no water, that's when her grandma tells her that she should finish eating all her food because she doesn't know what life is about. She doesn't know what problems are there in this life. So this happens with a lot of us, right? When we were kids, we didn't want to eat our food, and our parents or our grandparents would tell us, you must finish your food. You know, there are so many kids who don't have food to eat. And this is true. So that's what her grandma used to remind her about, that eat all your food. You know, you're so lucky that you have food to eat. You don't know how other people are suffering. But Ajoa had only one problem. She considered that her only problem, and that was very different to the problems which her grandma spoke about or her mother spoke about. Ajoa is 7 years old, and at that age, her problem was that she could think of things in her head, but she couldn't express them properly in words. And at the age of 7 years old, you might think that what you are saying is very serious to you, but others don't pay any attention to you because it seems like just the childish talk of a 7-year-old. So she gives the example of her grandma. She says, first I have to struggle to catch her attention. Once she pays attention to me, then I tell her something which it had taken me a long time to figure out in my head. And then after I tell her, you know what she does? She stops what she's doing. She stares at me with her mouth open. Then she bends and turns her head slightly and puts her ear towards Ajua and asks her, what did you say? And then Ajua would repeat what she had said to her grandma, but her grandma would react in one of two ways. Either she would tell Ajua, whatever you just said, never, never, never repeat that again. Or she would burst out laughing as if Ajua had cracked the funniest joke in the whole world. And she would laugh and laugh and laugh till tears started running down her cheeks. And she would wipe away the tears with the hanging edges of her cloth. Whatever clothes she was wearing, she would take the corner of that and she would wipe her eyes. And she would continue laughing and laughing and laughing till she was completely tired and she couldn't laugh anymore. I'm sure sometime in your life you've experienced this kind of laughter, right? With your friends, or when you remember something, or you watch a funny film or something that just sets you off laughing, and then you just can't stop till you get completely tired, and that's when you finally stop. But even after her nana stopped laughing, if somebody came by, some other person or some other woman who came by to meet them, she would repeat what Ajoa had said to that person. And then both of them would start laughing. So her grandmother would start laughing all over again, and that person would also join her, and they would both start laughing all over again at what Ajoa had said till they had tears streaming down their faces once again. And sometimes two, three, four people would come. There would be a group of ladies laughing and screaming with tears running down their cheeks, all because of what Ajoa had said. And Ajoa thought that I didn't say anything that funny, that they are putting on such a performance, that they are laughing so much uncontrollably as if this is the funniest thing that they've ever heard. She used to find all this quite confusing because she didn't understand why she shouldn't repeat certain things that she would say. her grandmother would just say, don't repeat. But she wouldn't tell her why. And at other times, when she would say something, it would be all right to say that thing, but it would be so funny that it would keep getting repeated over and over again for everybody's enjoyment. So everybody could get together and laugh at what she had said. So either way of reacting to what she said was discouraging. It didn't encourage her to speak her mind out very often because of these two kind of reactions that adults used to have to things that she said. So now we come to the main issue, which is the business with her legs. She says that I've always wanted to tell my nana and my mother not to worry about my legs so much. This is not an issue for my two most favorite people to fight over. That is my grandma and my mother. She wanted to tell them that don't talk about my legs so much because it will cause a fight or a disagreement between the two of you. But she also didn't want to say it because either she would be told not to repeat it or it would be considered very funny for everybody to get together and laugh at her legs. She didn't want her grandma and her mother arguing, disagreeing about this topic of her legs. And she also didn't want to say anything because of the same reaction which we discussed earlier, that she didn't want to be told not to talk about it, and she also didn't want anybody to consider what she said so funny that they would laugh about it till they cried, because after all they were her legs. Why should she want anybody to have that kind of reaction? She says that now that she thinks about it, her nana and her mother must have been discussing her legs from the day she was born. She's sure that when she came out of the land of sweet, soft silence, that means from her mother's womb, first topic that they must have spoken about was her legs. This is a little bit of sarcasm and humor that the writer has infused into this part of the story. This discussion about her legs happened almost every day. Her nana would start by telling her daughter, that is Ajoa's mother, I have no issue that your daughter's a female. God has blessed us with a female child. But about her legs, her mother would try and take up for her and ask her that why are you always complaining about Ajoa's legs? If you ask me, then Nana would cut her short and say, her legs are too thin, and secondly, I'm not asking you. So that was Nana's final voice, which she used to stop arguments or any further discussions. I'm saying that her legs are too thin. That's it. Nobody else has to say anything. Nobody has to discuss this with me. My word is the final word. Still, Ajoa's mother would try to put in a few words. She would say, you know, some people, they don't even have any legs. At least Ajoa has them. Even if they're thin, so what, right? And then Nana would reply that Ajoa has legs, yes, but they're too thin and also too long for a woman. So now Nana has this idea in her head about how thin and how long a woman's legs should be. Then she tells her daughter that once in a while somebody decides, nature, a child's spirit mother. You could say maybe in their culture it's similar to a guardian angel. It's decided by some divine power that a child is born with neither arms or legs. And that's a very sad thing. And we should not talk about these things every day. But if she had decided to come into this world without legs, that would have been very sad and unfortunate. But the fact that she's come into this world with legs, then she might as well have come with good, proper legs. And the mother would argue, what kind of legs do you want her to have? And Ajoa always knew that when her mother was arguing like this with her grandma, that she was feeling very sad inside. She was weeping inside, means she was feeling very sad that she had to fight and argue and convince her own mother that there was nothing wrong with her daughter, that her legs were perfectly fine, and that she should not discriminate against her on the basis of that. But Nana was indifferent to her daughter's sadness or internal weeping. And even if she had detected it, that would not stop her from saying whatever she wanted to say. And this always surprised Ajua because she said in all other aspects, she considered her grandma a good grown up. She didn't have any other problem with her. But then Ajua says, what do I know about good grown ups and bad grown ups? I think my grandma is a good grown up, but I don't know anything. I'm just a young girl. I'm just 7 years old. I'm just a child. So Nana is not willing to give up. So she says, as I keep saying, these words itself show you that this topic gets discussed on a regular basis. If any woman decides to come into this world with her two legs, then she should select legs that have meat on them. Now, do you understand how illogical, irrational this thought is? When you were born or I was born, did we have any control or did we have any say in the matter? That I'll be born with these kind of eyes, that kind of hair, these kind of fingers, that kind of nose. No, right? A baby's just born in this world in whatever way it's born. Nobody has control over it, not the parents, not anybody. But Nana is making it sound as if Ajoa actually had a choice about what kind of legs she would be born with. She wanted her to have good calves. You know, calves, right? The back part of your leg from the back of your knee till your ankle. She wanted her to have good, strong calves because that would support strong hips. And why does a woman require strong hips? To have children. And Ajoa's mother would say, "Oh, mother," as if to say, "That's enough now, mother, please stop." But she would say it very softly in an inoffensive way, and after that, mostly the discussion would stop. Or then they would start talking about some other topic. Now, once in a while, Nana would take the opportunity and say something about Kaya's husband. That means Ajoa's father. She would say, looking at that man, we have to be humble and say that God's children are many. That means all people are not alike. There are all different kinds of people that God has created. She was not happy that her daughter had married a man like that. Whatever he must have been like, we don't really know. And her life could have been much worse. But the biggest problem that they have, and they should thank God for it, is that the daughter who was born with spindly legs, very thin legs. So no matter what is discussed, the topic always circles around and comes back to this one topic. And Ajoa says that the way she used to say all these things, grumble about her father, she used to say it in a soft tone, thinking that Ajoa couldn't hear it, but she always heard it. After this topic about her father, then her mother would keep quiet. Then she had nothing more to say. That was the topic that used to shut up her mother because she couldn't answer or she couldn't defend herself about her choice of husband. So, whatever courage her mother had shown while trying to defend her, it used to always end at that point after Nana used to bring the father into the topic. This thought used to go on in her mind: legs that have meat on them, with good calves to support solid hips to have children. Meat means fleshy legs, and calves, I already told you. So, after hearing this every day, Ajoa thought that I have to go and see which women in our village had these kind of legs. The women who had children definitely had these kind of legs, so she wanted to see what they look like. But that was not an easy thing to do because all the women in the village used to wear wraparounds. So if you look at the screen, you'll see generally what kind of clothing she means. So she thinks if they let me go and bathe in the river, have a bath in the river in the evening, I can check over there and see how other women's legs look. Because obviously, when they go to have a bath, there are all women there, so they will lift up their skirt or they will show their legs in some way which she will be able to catch a glimpse of. But she would never get the chance to do that because she was not allowed to go to the river. The most she could do was sometimes she would be given permission to go with her friends who were also of the same age and splash around in the shallow part of the river. She couldn't go to the deeper part where, say, the women were bathing or washing clothes because they were adults, right? They could go to the deeper end of the river and she was just a child. So she had to stay in the shallow part. To have a bath, she had to use the bathhouse which was behind their hut. Therefore, the only female legs that she has seen is other girls of her age and of older girls in her school who've not yet grown up into women. They are still children. And of course, her mother's legs and her nana's legs, which she says they must be the right kind of legs because obviously they've had kids. Her nana had her mother and her mother gave birth to her. And she thinks about her friends' legs. She says, I think all of them have legs which look like legs. They look like normal legs to me, but I don't know whether they have meat on them or not. Now, from this point onwards, the direction of the story changes a little bit. She says, according to the boys and girls in her school, the distance between her village and their school is about 5 kilometers. She doesn't understand what 5 kilometers means, but she keeps hearing people say that. And they complain that it's very long to walk from school to home and back. But to her, it doesn't matter because she likes walking and she likes going to school. And school is another thing that her Nana has an opinion about. She says it's a waste of time. Why are you going to school? You will study till a certain age, then you will become an adult, then you'll get married and have kids. And then after that, you look after your home and your children. So, what's the point of going to school? But Ajua was too young to understand why her grandmother said that school is useless. But again, Kaya disagreed with Nana. She kept telling her that she felt like she was locked in some kind of darkness. She was at some kind of disadvantage. She felt held back because she had never gone to school. And she didn't want that to happen to her daughter. She wanted her daughter to be able to read and write her own name and perhaps do some calculations on paper, add, subtract, basic arithmetic. That would be good. Once she got an education, then she could get married later. And Nana used to make that into a joke as well. She used to say, with legs like hers, she might as well go to school because she's not good for anything else. So, what Nana didn't know was that Ajua used to always participate in races at school and she used to always come first. But she would never go home and tell anyone because she thought it's pointless. Nobody will appreciate it. But this time it was different. Her teachers had decided to let her run in the junior section of the district games. District games would be where multiple schools from different villages you got together and you have some sports event. So Ajua was going to run in the junior section because she was still young, right? She was just 7 years old. So this time it was a more important event. So she went home and she told her Nana and her mother. Her Nana, of course, did not believe it. So she said, I will go to school and I will ask properly whether you've understood it correctly, whether you've actually been selected or not. Let me go and check. So she went and checked, and then she came back and she told Ajua's mother that yes, it's true. She has been selected as one of the school's runners. And her mother was very happy. Her mouth moved as if she wanted to say something to Nana, but she stopped herself in time. And Nana looked so pleased with herself that Ajua's mother didn't say anything to her. But ever since she told Nana about her news, about being selected to run, she has noticed that her Nana keeps looking at her legs secretly now and then. She just gives a glance towards her legs, but she pretends that she's not looking. And another thing that Nana has started doing is she started washing Ajua's school uniform herself. And Ajua is very surprised by this. And she didn't only stop at that, she went to Mr. Mensa's house, another person in the village, and she borrowed his charcoal pressing iron to bring it and iron Ajua's uniform. And she ironed it and ironed it and ironed it so much that if the uniform had a voice to speak, it would say, enough now. Please don't iron me anymore. And Ajua has been enjoying wearing her uniform because it's so well pressed. It's shining in the sun and it looks better than anybody else's uniform. And she was sure that even Nana was looking at it and feeling very proud about how Adjoa and her uniform was standing out and shining as compared to everybody else's uniform. And this sports event, this district sports week, was going on for the whole week. And Nana has been following Adjoa and her friends every single day of the week, walking those 5 kilometers from the village to the school and back every afternoon. Nana will take out a fresh set of clothes from a big brass bowl. So, in their village or in certain cultures, they have a big brass bowl in which they keep their belongings and certain important things. Nana used to keep her clothes in that, and every day she would take out a fresh set, wear it, and go for the sports event which was being held at Ajoa's school. And those clothes are so stiffly starched. Starch is normally put in soft clothes like soft cotton to make it stiffer so that when you wear it, it holds its shape. And Nana had starched her clothes so much that it used to actually make a creaking sound when she used to move or stand or sit. And Nana used to follow the children, but she used to pretend that she's going somewhere else. And then she would go and sit amongst the spectators and she used to watch Ajoa running. So Ajoa says that yes, she has won every single race that she ran for her school. And overall, she has won the cup for the best all round junior athlete. And wonder of wonders, Nana says that I don't care if such things are not done, but I will do it. And what would she do? She took the shining cup on her back. She wrapped it in a cloth and she put it on her back the way women carry their babies or they carry something very important. And another thing she did is she did not walk behind, pretending that she was not following the children. She walked along with them home, carrying that cup on her back. And when they entered the village, the first thing she did was she went and showed the cup to Ajoa's mother. And both of them must have admired it, talked about it before she went and handed it back to the headmaster of the school. And again, Ajoa is very puzzled by adults about grown ups. She says right now her Nana is carrying her on her knee, made her sit on her knee, and she's crying softly and she's saying that thin legs can also be useful. And even though some legs don't have much meat on them, but they can run. And if they can run, then who knows? What she means to say is that all this time she thought that Adjoa's thin legs were useless, they had no use. But now she has seen what Adjoa's thin legs could do. And even though they have no meat on them, they can still run. They can run fast, they can win races. And if they can win races, then who knows what she can do in future. Ajwa says, I don't know much about all this, what my Nana is talking about, but all this time, this is what I have been thinking. That legs can do other things. They can be used for other things instead of just having legs to support hips and have babies. But I never said these things out aloud because somebody would have told me to never, 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 never repeat such words, or else they would have laughed so much that they would have started crying. But she says finally that it's better this way. That I didn't say the words, I didn't tell them what I thought, I didn't give them a chance to stop me from speaking my mind out or from laughing at me, but instead I showed them through my actions. I didn't plan to do it this way, but it worked out this way and it worked out for the best because actions always speak louder than words. And she did it and she proved it to them what she was capable of. And this was a much better, in fact, the best way to prove her point. So that was the explanation of the story. Tell me in the comments how you felt about Ajoa's grandmother repeatedly commenting on Ajoa's thin legs and whether you felt a sense of satisfaction by the end when she won the race and gained everybody's respect and appreciation. Now let's go ahead and examine the themes of this story. The first theme is gender expectation placed on females. Now, the grandma in this story, Nana, stands for the traditional views and old cultural beliefs about women, namely that women are meant for domestic work and for being mothers and homemakers, and that there's no point in educating them. The next theme is tradition versus modernity. The grandmother has outdated cultural beliefs about women, while Adjoa's success in athletics shows that females have greater potential and more opportunities than before when grandma was young. Without fighting, without rebelling or disrespecting her grandma because of the traditions that she believes in, Adjoa proved her potential through her actions. Her ability is recognized and encouraged by her school, and that influences her grandma to change her mind towards her. The next theme is finding one's own voice. One thing we notice in these three women is this: grandma is very outspoken and domineering. She likes to take control. She likes to have the last word. She uses her voice to demean and belittle her daughter and granddaughter. She never appreciates or encourages them in any way. Ajoa's mother, on the other hand, Kaya, is the opposite. She's always silent and never speaks up for herself or her daughter. She tries, but her voice is always silenced by tradition and by shame. Ajoa, on the other hand, she has her own voice. And when I say voice here, I don't mean the sound that comes out of your vocal cords, not that voice. Voice means the ability to express yourself, to say what is on your mind, to express your opinions. So Ajwa speaks up, but she's told either never to repeat what she has said, or then she is mocked by her grandma and many other women also who join in that laughter. But fortunately, by winning the race, she realizes her value as a person and she gains a new respect in her mother and her grandmother's eyes. She doesn't give in to the old traditions which says that all she's expected to do is work at home and be a mother, and she proves through her actions that she's capable of much, much more. The last theme we'll talk about is self worth and the need for external validation. Adjoa always hears from her grandmother that her thin legs make her less valuable than other girls. But Ajua doesn't believe this. She accepts herself, her legs, her thoughts, her beliefs, and she sees a change in her grandmother's behavior only after she wins a race and brings home a trophy. This shows how deeply children are affected by what they hear from their elders. The story makes us question why a child should need public success or awards to be respected, to be heard, to be appreciated, especially within her own family. Shouldn't she be lovable just as she is? So, those were the themes. Now, let's look at a few symbols that this story contains. So, the first symbol, a symbol is something that represents something else or stands for something else. So, that can be anything. In this case, we are talking about the first symbol is thin legs. These thin legs are a symbol of society's judgment of women's bodies and the value that they have. Initially, though, Nana, who represents tradition and society and those old beliefs, she sees them as a weakness, but later they become a symbol of talent and potential. After Ajua wins the trophy, the next symbol is running. This represents freedom and the discovery of Ajua's talent and self worth. After that, the next symbol is the award, which is the trophy that Ajua wins. This is a recognition of her ability, but it also challenges the idea of a woman's value beyond her ability to bear children. And the last symbol we'll talk about is the school, which represents opportunity, equality, and modern thinking, where talent is recognized regardless of gender. This story reminds us that every child carries hidden potential, and sometimes all they need is one chance to prove what they can do. So, that was a video about the girl who can. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel for more stories explained in simple English, and I'll see you in the next video.